And we are live once again.
Jolly good. Good morning, everybody, or good day.
Happy Tuesday.
Hi.
Our little Tuesday warriors.
Yeah.
So today we are extremely honored to have a Michelin-starred restaurateur together with us, all the way from Houston, Texas, via Nigeria, Dubai, and India, and New York soon. Let me just tell you a little bit about our guest today. Mithu Malik. She is the recipient of the Houston Business Journal 2025 Diversity in Business Honorees Award. And she was born and raised in India, where frequent travels due to her father's law enforcement career exposed her to diverse cultures and cuisines. With a strong interest in biology, she pursued a career in pharmacy, of all things. You guys have things to talk about.
That's right.
Her father was a pharmacist.
My father was a pharmacist, yeah.
Becoming a certified pharmacist. However, her deep-rooted love for food, inspired by her mother's elaborate cooking, eventually led her to shift careers. After marrying her husband and business partner, Shammi, the couple moved to Lagos, Nigeria. So disappointed by the local representation of Indian cuisine, they decided to enter the restaurant business themselves, those crazy kids.
Yeah.
They initially established Nigeria's first pizza restaurant by securing a Debonairs Pizza franchise, say that 4 times fast, and following Mithu's comprehensive training in Johannesburg, then with her disciplined approach, shaped by her background as a certified pharmacist, proved invaluable as they navigated the challenges of launching a food franchise in a new country. And now they are a Michelin-starred restaurant in Houston. Please welcome Ms. Mithu Malik. Welcome.
Hello.
Hi. Hi, Ruth.
Welcome.
Hi, Angie. Thank you for having me on your show.
Oh, it's such a pleasure.
Absolutely. Gosh, I mean, thanks for making the time. I know how crazy busy and all over the world you are.
Oh, anytime.
And, so your journey from pharmacist to fine dining is absolutely unique. I mean, what made you, in your passion, in your heart, what made you flip from one career to the crazy restaurant industry, which is just about as mad as rock and roll?
Absolutely. I think that a little bit of that was destiny. And I, like you read, I was very much interested in biology and in science. And I saw myself kind of in a serious career in healthcare. I was actually doing my master's in business administration because I wanted to combine my pharmacy and maybe go into marketing for pharmaceuticals. And then I met Shammi, and so everything kind of flipped. And he convinced me that I could do my MBA from anywhere. It really didn't matter, and that we should get married right away. And which I did. And then the move to Nigeria, I grew up in India. The move to Nigeria was a huge transition and a really, really big change for me. I honestly went in with no expectations. I was pleasantly surprised on a lot of things about living in Nigeria. Mm-hmm. But working in the pharmaceutical industry was it had limited options in Nigeria. So I didn't actively pursue it at that time. And as far as the restaurant industry goes, I think it was something that Shammi, my husband, always wanted to foray into. I remember when we went out on a date before we got married, that was something that he mentioned that, one day I hope to be the owner of a restaurant, and I hope to be sitting like the guy in Casablanca with, the cigar and the hat. And so I think it was inevitable that we would take this route because the seed was already there. And then what like you read, what kind of pushed that into motion was the fact that we're essentially, both of us are food lovers. I grew up in a family where at breakfast we would be talking about what we're going to have for lunch and what was the plan for dinner. And my mother would cook, so elaborate meals, and then we traveled a lot, so we ate a lot of different cuisines. So we both were very fond of eating good food, and I enjoy cooking, so we would cook at home. But whenever we went out to eat, we really found that there was a big gap in how Indian cuisine is represented, out of India. And so I think that kind of pushed us to, why not? And then both of us, my husband is an extreme risk taker. I kind of jump along for the ride. So both of us we just dove in, and it was like, okay, we'll see what happens, if we come up for air or not. So that's how we took the jump. We were both very excited about it, very passionate about it, and we both knew that we were capable. So I think that kind of made the whole transition and the startup easier for us. So, and then,
Wow.
kind of figuring out where we wanted to go, starting with a franchise, which was safer to kind of, a good way to learn the ropes, so to speak.
Yes.
And then rest is history, after that.
Mm. Well, now, Musaafer is known for its immersive Indian experience, isn't it? From art to cuisine. So
Yes.
how did your team curate such a multi-dimensional identity?
So when we dreamed up Musaafer for the US, we already had a really nice fine dine Indian restaurant in Lagos, Nigeria. But for the US, I mean, Nigeria has its limitations, so we couldn't go beyond just really good Indian food. For the US, we wanted to set India and Indian cuisine on a global stage, and it's like people are you finalize a great deal, you want to go out and celebrate. There should be no hesitation in picking an Indian restaurant, because usually there's a lot of things associated. The typical, things that people think of when they think of Indian cuisine, is a small restaurant, and it's a lot of hot curries, and it's a lot of
mom and pop stuff, right?
Yeah. So we really wanted to an Indian cuisine. Yes, it does have. There are some components to it which are spicy, which are chili hot, but there's a lot more to it than that. So we really wanted to elevate Indian cuisine to where it would be the top cuisine, one of the top cuisines in the world. We wanted people who would come to Musaafer to actually feel like they were stepping into India. So we kind of dreamed the idea of experiential dining. We got on board a fabulous chef who shared our vision for what we wanted out of Musaafer. So as far as the cuisine was concerned, and translating what we wanted into the menu, we were secure with Mayank. And what we wanted to do with the rest of it was something that we really worked together to create an interior, which was it's a huge space, separating it into different areas, then bringing in and highlighting different forms of art and architecture from India.
Yes.
So we designed it. We worked with a design group out of Delhi. It was a lot of, I would say, 8 to 8 kind of days, getting there in the morning, and then lunch and dinner and everything in between, but kind of working off of ideas. And then sourcing everything, finding the local artisans, then having them custom make everything and ship everything, and then get it here. And then, sometimes you would think that, what the hell were we thinking when we thought this?
No kidding.
Absolutely.
I mean, there are so many distinct, when you step out of the elevator, the reception area is just stunning. It's like going into somebody's house. There are picture frames and lampshades, and it's almost like stepping into
a museum.
It's like an Ames room, because it's so tiny, and you turn right at the reception desk, and as you're going down this hallway, you think, oh, it's going to be a typical, very cozy mom and pop Indian restaurant with the flock wallpaper and the typical stuff. And you turn the corner, and you are looking at this huge Musaafer, which means traveler in Hindi, statue. The longest piece of wood in North America is the communal table. You look at the Angan, which is the communal area with the black and white floor, the spectacular bar, the patio, the divan. Then you go through into the room where Mithu is sitting, the Shish Mahal. Tell us the story of that, because that's 250,000 pieces of mirror. Am I correct?
Yes, that's right. It's a little more than 250,000 pieces of hand-cut mirror, antique mirror. It has panels which have inlay work in marble. It has panels and strips which have all been hand-painted. So the idea, the Shish Mahal is not a new idea or an uncommon idea if you go back into Indian history. And kings in ancient India always had a Shish Mahal in their palace. It was a way, of course, to, like a lot of other things in their palace, it was a way to show off their position and their wealth and how strong they were. But it was also, I must say, in addition to that, there's always been in Indian culture, there's been an element of appreciation of art, appreciation of the finer things.
Yes.
And so each palace had a Shish Mahal. There were lots of mirrors. One of the main reasons why they had, in addition to, of course, the fact that it was beauty and all of that, was also the fact that they used these rooms for entertainment. So if they had visitors, that was the perfect place to entertain. If the king himself wanted to be entertained, that's where they would do it. And and the women of the royalty were pretty much followed the parda system, which is where they could not show their faces or be in public. In this kind of setting.
Discreetly.
So the idea was to have these mirrors, the entire room covered in mirrors, and then the women would be seated in a separate room. But because there were mirrors, no matter what was happening in the room, where the performance was happening, if the dancer was, whichever part of the room, they could catch a glimpse of it or see it in the mirrors. So that was, kind of like the reasoning behind it. And then, of course, when you have a room full of mirrors and then you have a dancer dancing and beautiful lights, that just magnifies the experience even more.
Absolutely.
Yes. So we wanted to recreate that because it's such a special part of Indian history and art and architecture. And so we designed the Shish Mahal. There are probably, I don't know, third, fourth, fifth generation families that actually are still in the business of restorations of these kind of palaces, because we still have beautiful palaces in India. And so we hired one of those families. This entire room was built on an iron frame outside of a village in Rajasthan, India.
Amazing.
I remember when they finished it and they put up the lights and everything was lit up. It was phenomenal to see that. And then it was disassembled and it was packed and it was shipped.
Disassembled and shipped.
Well, you have to make sure. Do a bit of a dress rehearsal. Make sure it's all going to fit and stand.
Yeah.
But it's like Lego on steroids, isn't it? By the time you get, and a lot more expensive and intricate.
Wow.
How on earth did you actually get it into the Houston Galleria?
My God!
Or crates?
That's a very interesting story. So, where we are located in the Galleria in the mall, there's 2 floors of parking below us, and so we are not allowed to have in those really big cranes right outside the restaurant because it's not sturdy. The ground is not sturdy enough to take that weight. If that was the case, the easiest would have been to just bring it in through the patio. But since we couldn't do that, we had to. The mall was very helpful. They gave us an overnight window. I mean, window in the sense that once business closed at 10 p.m., the mall opened the doors at the back for us, and so we blocked off the street behind the mall. We brought in our stuff on these huge long container trucks, and then we got it off manually. It was put on these trolleys, and there must have been probably 10, 12 of us. And then the interesting thing to add to everything else also is that we couldn't drive the trucks up into the parking lot, which is in the mall, because there's a height restriction. So we had to offload outside, put it onto trolleys, push the trolleys up 2 floors, get in from the backside, and then push it all the way through the mall, backside of our restaurant space, and get it in. So it took us, I would say, about 8-9 hours. We worked the entire night, and that's how it got in.
# longest night ever.
Yeah, literally sweat and blood is what I would say.
Was your spectacular bar built out at that time? Could you finish with a breakfast beer when you were all done, or?
Sorry, come again?
Was your spectacular bar built out at that time? Could you finish off with a breakfast beer, or did you?
No. It was up, but the final finishing, the structure was up, but no. Unfortunately, it was not. In fact, the Shish was probably one of the first ones to be put up, because everybody was worried if it would fit or not, and then this is on the one side of the restaurant, so they just wanted to fit it, finish it, and then move out. So yeah, there was no bar to fall back upon.
That's unfortunate, because everything else would be closed at 3:00 in the morning except your own joint, right?
I tell you what, that whole performance would make a great documentary, wouldn't it?
I know. Yes, sometimes we think it absolutely would.
Did you have photographs, or did you shoot any footage of any of that?
We do have photographs. We have videos. Yeah.
Wow.
We had actually put up cameras in this space. We wanted to do a time lapse, but as and when it suited the contractor, they kind of put up certain cameras. So we weren't able to execute that vision. Wow.
And then at the end of it all, you've got it all done. You've got the patio done, and the bar is, I mean, it's the size of a house, isn't it? Basically,
it's a huge bar.
It's not even a bungalow. It's enormous. I mean, how does Afzal and his team reach the bottles at the top? Do they have ladders, or?
Well, we put most of the bottles that need to be accessed on the central island, so that at least for the day's operation, they have what they need. But there have been times during operations when certain drinks bottles are needed. Yes, they are climbing up ladders and getting those. So it does add to the beauty of the space that we have such beautiful high ceilings.
Oh, I'm sure.
And like you rightly point out, that's a challenge that we have to deal with.
Tell us about the wine room and the carrier pigeon story. That's fascinating.
Yes. So our wine room is designed kind of inspired by, again, an element of history of Indian culture. So before the advent of post and mail, the rulers would communicate to each other within kingdoms using pigeons. So pigeons are known to be fabulous homing birds and be able to, fly back and forth and find their way. So these pigeons were all kind of an elaborate system where they were trained and they were kept and kind of looked after. They were almost like their pets, and they would spend time with them. And so the pigeons would have, so whatever the message was written on a scroll. It was kind of rolled up, put into a little tube, and it tied to the foot of the pigeon. And then the pigeon was let go, and amazingly would go to the right kingdom, because you didn't want a war plan going to the wrong kingdom, and the one who's being attacked is the one who gets the information. So yes, they would fly there, and then the reply would come back. So we were in Udaipur and in one of the palaces there, and I remember walking into this room, and this was one of the rooms that actually was highlighting this part of the culture. So there were cages that were hanging from the ceiling. There was a beautiful pigeon coop which was in the center. Of course, there were no pigeons, but that kind of inspired us that let's highlight this. It's such an interesting part of our history. And so we have in our wine room, the cabinet at the bottom is designed to look like the pigeon coops. We have beautiful tile work there. We have lattice work. And so, you feel almost like you could open one of those and pull out a pigeon. And then on top, we have the bird cage lights, the chandeliers, which actually look like bird cages. And then, of course, wine on display.
And it's all on the website, musaaferhouston.com, and that's Musaafer. And it means traveler, right? So
yes.
Where did what was the name of the restaurant inspired by yours and Shammi's, trek from India to Nigeria to Dubai to the US? Where did you come up with the brand?
I think that played a part in it, but honestly, when we it was quite far along when we actually decided that we were thinking we'd call it the Spice Room Company. That's kind of like the holding company. And we were not really, 100% pleased with the name. And so as the concept started building more and more, and then we met with Chef Mayank, and then we discussed our vision for how we really wanted a complete Indian experience. So we wanted to do regional Indian cuisine, and we wanted to do authentic tastes and flavors of the Indian cuisine. And so then came up the idea of doing a journey because I doubt any Indian, unless you make it a mission to travel all over the country, I doubt any Indian, who would have lived even their entire lives in India would have done the entire subcontinent. So when we decided we wanted to do that, and we really wanted it to be authentic Indian food, so the natural outcome of that was that, okay, let's start visiting, let's start going to all the states, and let's actually, cook in the homes of the people who live there. So Mayank and everybody pulled out whoever, knew whoever. And so then that idea came about of the journey. And then when we finished conceptualizing the interiors, so then it kind of felt right that the restaurant should be journey based. And then the natural transition, the next step was that, okay, let's call it Musaafer, because Musaafer means traveler, Musaafer means evolution, Musaafer means constant movement. And so that's how Musaafer came to be. And then, of course, our beautiful statue that represents the traveler.
How tall is that statue?
Oh, it's about, I don't know the exact, it's about between 12 to 14 feet.
Yeah, that's standing underneath it. That's what I would have guessed. And I guess he came in through the back gate horizontally, right?
Yes. He was lying down. The base came separately, and then the entire Musaafer, because we couldn't break it and then reassemble it, so the entire statue came lying down. And it's the final product of the statue is also an interesting story of how I think the sculptor. So he's a presidential award-winning sculptor, young man by the name of Shanmukh. And I think, just like the statue of David, he was in love with this subject that he was making. And so we had, the initial one. So they make a mold, and then they put the fiber, and then they break the mold from inside. So when the first pictures and videos we got was this gorgeous, handsome Greek god kind of man, clean-shaven, solid jaw, and hair, and six-pack abs, and it's like, okay, wonderful, he looks good, but it's a weary traveler. He's been on his feet for the most part of his life. We don't want an old man, of course, but we wanted someone who still has the journey to complete and has more adventures to go on. So he settled on a middle-aged man, and so we were like, he needs a beard, he needs some wrinkles, he needs the experience, he needs a little bit of, he doesn't have time to go to the gym, so the abs are not going to work. And eventually there was a lot of back and forth, and then finally he kind of met us halfway there. So we still have a very beautiful man with just a little bit of a belly, still very fit. But it eventually turned out to be come
not too Hollywood, just enough Bollywood, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you don't want him to look like he's come from the Pilates class, right?
I know, exactly. So, but it's a beautiful statue, and the attention to detail in that statue is amazing. You can see the veins of the hands through the skin, so it's really.
Oh, when you stand next to it, the sandals, the feet, all of it. You feel the journey.
Yes, absolutely.
I tell you what I wanted to ask you, as a female restaurateur and entrepreneur, I'm doing big words today.
Big words, extra points for that.
What advice do you have for women who are looking to break into the culinary or hospitality business? Okay. Don't do it.
Run screaming.
Without any gender, male,
Yeah.
female, I think for anybody, unless you are super passionate about it and you love it, seriously don't do it. It's a
No,
lot of
very hard work,
work,
isn't
a
it?
lot of micromanaging, a lot of stress, but it's
Yeah.
also extremely gratifying if that's something that you love.
Yes.
I think just for women in any industry, I think the same rules kind of apply. You do have to work a little bit harder to prove yourself. You do have to um, go the extra mile versus maybe your male counterpart. But I think the most important thing is, like I say over and over again, finding that if this is truly what you love, then nothing is too difficult to do. No challenge is too hard to take on. You just have to be persistent. You have to be constant in what you're doing. So it's doing the same things every day, but loving doing them every day. Um,
Hmm.
just
We
what
know
Yeah,
about that one.
it's
Yeah.
almost like having a child that isn't a real child, right? It's like having another baby that it's your baby.
It's your
thing.
baby. Yeah.
It is absolutely it is, and you never switch off because it's
No, no, never.
I know.
always.
You know, believe me.
I know
Yeah.
being on WhatsApp with you folks, it's
Yeah, any time of day or night, absolutely.
especially when like Chef Mayank's just been over to India doing more spice research and traveling and
Yes.
visiting grandmas and families and what
Oh,
have
yeah.
you. There are 29 states in India, correct?
Yes,
Good heavens.
And
Wow.
and you guys, between you visited all of them.
yes, we have.
Oh,
I will say, yeah, we have.
and there aren't so many Americans I haven't been to all 50 states in America, so it's quite
It's
the emotional undertaking, apart from the physical journey and what have you. But
it is.
It must be. I mean, did you learn what part of India were you born in? North, south, middle?
So yes, I am from the northwest, I would say. So it's a state called Punjab. It's supposed to be the breadbasket of India, the green belt of India. We are heavily into agriculture in our state. But having said that, and now by the way, there are more states that are in. So it's a different configuration than when we started Musaafer, but it was 29, so we still stick to the 29.
Yes.
And so I was born in Punjab. I grew up all over. I would say, well, not so much the East. I actually all over India. My father was in the police, so we've seen right up north, which is the Jammu and Kashmir region. We went down south to Andhra Pradesh, Hyderabad region. My father was posted in the east, which is Mizoram, which borders China, that entire region. And then, of course, our part of the country. So I kind of, by virtue of north, south, east, and west, truly saw the contrasts within India as a subcontinent, but everything, from the language, we have so many languages, we have so many dialects, we have so from the language, from people's appearance, from the food, of course, the what you wear, it's
customs, the
all the
religions, all of it.
so drastically different that sometimes you would question, are we in the same country?
Yeah.
And what about schooling? You must have gone to many schools.
Yes, I did. When I look back now, I think I owe some of my social anxiety to the fact that I switched so many schools.
I'm not surprised.
But when I look back, I feel that was a wonderful way to grow up, because I have friends from so many different places and such different perspectives because where they come from. So it was a unique way. It was a unique way to grow up, for sure.
Elizabeth's asking, do you have a favorite region in India? Not necessarily a city, but a favorite region. I mean, that would be like picking your favorite child, I suppose.
Yes, exactly. I was just going back and thinking, no, I don't. Unless, I think, if you're specifically a beach person or a mountain person, you may pick one or the other. but it's all so unique, so different, and just so beautiful that I would not be doing justice by picking anyone.
I mean, we had a guest on a couple of weeks ago, Susan Shumsky, who was Maharishi Mahesh Yogi's personal assistant for 17 years. And she lived at Rishikesh and whatever. And she was, just saying how, as an outsider, as an English or as an American girl going to India, you have this kind of preconceived notion that India is India. But if you think about the Himalayas in Uttar Pradesh versus Goa, it's like saying Hawaii is like Pennsylvania. Nothing, right? Or the Catskills,
Absolutely.
And I think people who haven't been there don't realize sort of the diversity. I mean, you have, obviously the cow is sacred in some places, and but the further north you get, and then if you get, obviously it's a different country, but if you get into Pakistan, they will make hunter's beef, but in India you would never do that. And then you have the whole Jain cuisine part of the world, and the spices, because it's such a north-south country. I mean, it's very too, but the spices must change from up in the higher elevations of the Himalayas all the way down to the beach, into the beaches.
Yeah, the topography and the geography is so different. Also, you could say a country which is pretty much same geographically will not have so many differences. We are so different, like you rightly said, the Himalayas in the north, and then the gorgeous beaches of the south, and then we have the desert in the west. And so yes, it's drastically different because of the local produce, of the local climate, and adaptation of life because of those sort of regional locations, so to speak. And I think Indian culture has also evolved a lot and been influenced a lot by the many invaders and the conquerors that have ruled us over the centuries, which is also translated down into food.
It's no wonder when you think it's almost 60 years ago, it's no wonder the Beatles, four lads from Liverpool who had just been bombed flat by World War II, George Harrison discovers this instrument called the sitar, and then he discovers Maharishi, and then off they go, and they spend, George and Ringo came home early, but John and Paul spent 3 months there. And there wouldn't be characters like Dear Prudence and Bungalow Bill and the White Album that may never have happened if it hadn't been for your country. In fact, I was just showing Ms. Mithu before, in 1968 when Paul and Jane went to the ashram, they brought us home this beautiful little handbag. They went into Dehradun, which is, I guess, is it Chef's birthplace, or did he grow up there?
Yes, absolutely. It's his birthplace, his hometown. His entire family lives there.
Yeah, and so they went on a little shopping trip, and they brought us this. And so this boutique in Dehradun must have had some juice, because the label inside says it was made for the Ivory Palace in Delhi. And so it found its way all the way from Delhi to Dehradun to Liverpool.
I know. Yeah. It's amazing how things connect, and what happens.
It truly, so many cuisines. Let's get to the meat of the matter.
Talk about the Michelin star.
What was that? I mean, we know what the journey was like. What was that night like for you? It must have just been.
Oh my God! It was magical. It was a dream come true. It was. So we didn't know what we're getting. We were just invited to attend, and you hope for it. You really want it, but there were butterflies in the stomach. I think I've never felt so cold in my entire life because I was nervous. I was just sitting there, and I didn't want to because I was wearing this nice dress. There was no way I was going to wear anything on top and cover myself, but that was part of the experience.
And it was November in Houston, so it wasn't the summer.
Yes, it was not. And it was beautifully set up. I just remember reaching there and getting off City Hall and seeing the Michelin star. It was surreal.
Yes.
It was something that we really wanted. Even when we conceptualized this, Michelin was always something that we had aimed for, and just so standing there and then taking pictures with that in the backdrop. And then, of course, getting inside, it was beautifully arranged. Everything was so nicely done. We had the Michelin man walking around, so took pictures, caught up with other people in the industry. It was also exciting just to see who all was there and who all were going to get honored. And then I think when they announced, honestly, I don't remember the moment from. Of course, I think the highlight of the evening was when they announced and when the name popped up on that huge screen. We saw Musaafer come up and then Mayank. That was, I mean, I think when I remember that, as even now I get goosebumps. It was amazing. And then, I don't remember just the whole excitement of, I don't know how we got to this stage, but it was magic.
Mayank, Chef Mayank tells the story about when he met Karuna, his lovely wife and the mother of their two daughters. He said, what do you want for a wedding gift? And she said, get me a Michelin star.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. Next.
Actually, very recently, when this is after the Michelin, Shammi dug up the initial, I don't know how he had this memory, when Mayank was actually going for his interview. So Michelin star was also, I think, very big on our list. So when Mayank was going for his interview, when we got Mayank, that was something we felt aligned, with both of us, for his visa interview when he initially when we were getting the process done. So Shammi had written an email that, okay, this is your date, all the best, it'll be fine. So go get this done, and then let's go and get that Michelin star. And this is in 2016 when we first, hired Mayank. So, and he found that email and he sent that back in the loop.
Oh, right.
Said, well, what do you know? We were blessed.
We did.
How did you and Shammi meet, Chef?
So we had, we were actively looking for a chef for the concept, and we actually, there was someone we were interested in, and it's how it's meant to be, destiny. When we reached out to that person, he said that he was flying out that night to start a new venture, and so he suggested Mayank to us. Obviously, Mayank had a great reputation within the culinary landscape in India. Yeah. And so we reached out, we connected, we communicated, and then he was working in Bangalore at that time. And so he invited us to come to Bangalore to stay there at his hotel and, kind of take as the next step forward. So we went to the hotel, and he gave us, I don't know, it was a 13 course meal.
Wow.
That he had organized for us. And we had that, and then we had an evening that we spent with him, and we knew right away that, this is exactly the person
your guy.
We want. Yes. And because we loved his interpretation of the food, which is exactly how, it was modern, it was smart, it was so flavorful. There was no compromise on the taste, but so, and then he was an easy person to talk to. Though he says now, I don't know if you should check with him. He says he feels, because we were out at bars and we drank and then so it was well into the night, and so he said the next morning I woke up and I was telling myself, oh my God, did I also talk about that? And did I also say that? What was I thinking? Is this ever going to happen or not? But I think that actually worked in his favor, because we liked that he was very candid and he was honest, and
yes.
So we think that the partnership would work well.
He truly eats, sleeps, breathes, dreams, and meditates food and spices, doesn't he?
Oh yes, absolutely.
He tells me about his dream time and how he comes up with, these new menus. Like you have the big event coming up April 17th out at Black Farms, your spring soiree. And this is sort of an annual thing for Musaafer, isn't it? You go into the meadow, celebrate spring, and bring on the new menu.
It is my favorite event and activity that we do at Musaafer. I absolutely love it.
No.
I love the farm that we go out to. So it's Blackwood Learning Institute. So of course we consciously support local. So there's a lot of local produce that we get from them. At the same time, we really like the fact that it's an educational institute. They get kids over from different schools. They have a little like a cottage / ranch that they've made with bunk beds. So kids will stay over for a week. It's owned and run by a chef, and so state-of-the-art kitchen. And so what they do is they educate the kids on eating healthy. So they cook in the kitchen, and then there's so much produce that grows. So they go, they pick the produce and they cook. So bottom line, that it's a beautiful farm, and it's really dear to our heart because of what it represents.
Right.
And so we do this event every year. So it's the launch of our spring/summer menu. It's a sneak peek that a few select people get off the menu to come a few weeks before. And also there are some things which we do only for this event, which don't make it to the menu. So it's really a unique experience. It's a beautiful farm with many different locations. So it's a multi-location course. You come at one place and we have champagne and we have hors d'oeuvres. And then you go to the next place and then we have live stations and we have 2 or 3 snacks. We launch a couple of our cocktails there. Then we move to the next location. There's live entertainment everywhere. We've had people playing the harp, the violin, the flute, the sitar. And then eventually you sit down under the stars for your about 4 or 5 courses, which are seated at the table. Also with live entertainment, beautiful fairy lights. It's just
magical.
Sounds wonderful.
Perfect setting. Starts early evening and finishes at night, and it's a beautiful, beautiful event, and it's something we all are excited about.
It's in Hempstead, just northwest of Houston, right?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, if you kids don't know, the Blackwood Land Institute that the Maliks and Musaafers support is just a fabulous place, because obviously, education is key, but nutrition for kids in the next generation is key because of all of the, the crap we're all being pushed and fed, and sugar and nonsense and, all of that. So I love kids learning about food early on and where it comes from, because then they'll respect, the planet. There's 8 billion of us to feed. So we really don't need to be throwing away tons of trash every day.
Absolutely.
That's absolutely. Elizabeth's saying she believes in fairies. I believe in fairies too. It does sound spectacular, Robbie. So that's your spring menu thing, and you also have a couple of offsite events coming up, right? So you're nominated for Best Restaurant and Best Chef at Culture Maps Tastemakers this year. Congratulations on that.
Yes,
thank you.
That's going to be April 3rd at Silver Street, I think.
Yes, that's this Thursday. We're excited for that. It's always a fun event to be at. There are so many of the top restaurants and great food, and you get to network and meet everybody. So within the industry, it's really, really a lot of fun.
With all this talk about food, I wonder why how you keep your lovely trim figure.
I know, she's so skinny. So slim, it makes me mad.
Well, I think to go back to your point of knowing what you're eating and where it's coming from, I think we grew up eating really, like I said, my mom was a great cook, but so it was all home cooked food, and it was all, we knew the butcher that the meat is coming from. We knew we would go to the local vegetable market to buy the fruits and vegetables. So I think that kind of carried through how actually when we brought up our kids, it was always home cooked food, and it was always fresh seafood and fresh stuff. So I think that has helped. I like to work out and keep myself active. And then the restaurant industry, you're just on your feet all the time. So
on the go all the day. And you and Chef have done some quite interesting collabs, right? And you've got one coming up in May.
Oh, yes.
With Chef David Skinner from Ishtia, who was on TV this morning. And That is going to be incredible. It's called
Super
a spice Odyssey, which
Yeah.
your chef Mayank came up with, which I
Oh,
love.
yes. I the minute I read it, I was like, yes, I know this is him.
So you have South Asian Indian and Native American Indian. So it's
Yes.
if you like Indian food of any stripe, it's going to be all there for you, and that's coming up in May. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And I think it's very unique also because
No kidding.
no, it's very unique because there's such limited exposure of the American Indian cuisine. I remember we went to Chef Skinner's restaurant a while back, and it was what an experience that was.
Yeah.
Food that it was simple ingredients, but so nicely done. And I think that kind of cemented even more the fact that we wanted to do this collaboration, because his vision was the same, that I really want to showcase the ingredients that were being used at that time. And then, yes, I can be creative with how I present it to you and what I do with you. It was phenomenal. So super excited for this, because it's so unique. It's not mainstream cuisine.
No.
And he's very talented, and so
That's very sweet. Yeah, he is, and so is Mayank. And I would, the meeting of those two minds.
Yeah.
You should put a GoPro on the wall and record their meetings, because these two are like, brainiac professors of food and history. The other part of that is that diners can, you can get Indian food anyway. You can go and get curry in a hurry and in a drive-through and blah blah blah. But what's unique about Musaafer and also Ishtia is the stories you tell and the history that comes with it. And this is from great grandpas and great grandmas, and you can imagine when Martin and I first ate at Musaafer, my mind, because I'm a wannabe, I'm a sort of a chef wannabe. I'm an old fat lady who identifies as a cook.
Well, I've seen your some of the pictures of some of the food you made, and it was really nice.
It's okay. But I was imagining, as these literally pieces of art came out from your kitchen, I was imagining the backstory of how this started. And it was probably verbal, and then somebody probably wrote it in a little notebook or on a 3x5 card. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, here we are, all the way, and now you're Michelin starred. And to see the legacy of South Asian cuisine and Indian cuisine and culture in particular elevated and celebrated on that just makes me so happy, because for years and years, I think Indian food has just been completely misunderstood.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
One cuisine has hardly been showcased, and one has been showcased in very different lights. So I think it'll be great to actually highlight both these cuisines, in this experience together.
Right. No, absolutely. You're also, just last week, the recipient of the Houston Business Journal Diversity in Business Excellence Award. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Must have been another one of those moments when you're walking up the stage.
I know. It was. It truly was. To be awarded the outstanding head of diversity was really a wonderful, wonderful honor. And it's always been a cause that's been close to my heart. So to be in a position where we can actively promote diversity, it's phenomenal. We have, extending equal opportunity to everybody, irrespective of, where you come from, what you look like, what your orientation. Yep. I think it's phenomenal, and it was a great event. It was a wonderful turnout. And truly, it's a commendable thing that Houston Business Journal is doing in highlighting this. And for me, it was really, really an honor to be there, to accept the award, and to be on stage to represent Musaafer for another aspect of what we do. With our culture, it was really nice.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations on that again. I'm going to tell people where they can find you and follow you. So it's musaaferhouston.com. But soon there will also be a Musaafer New York. and tell us a little bit about where that's going to be. And, I'm sure you're all excited to
Yes,
be
yes.
the bigger smoke. You're in a huge city now, but New York is another step on your Musaafer journey, right?
Yes, yes, it is for sure. So very exciting, of course. Um, just as any new project, there are butterflies in the stomach as well right now. So we're located in Tribeca, and we found a location in a beautiful. It's a heritage building. It's one of the few buildings that are entirely standing on cast iron, which had it had its challenges to do a build out there, but there's a lot of history in that building. It was recently awarded the best renovation award by the landlord who took over that building. They've really done a beautiful, been very careful to maintain the facade and the features on that. And so it's a huge space, just like Houston. It's 11,000 square feet.
Oh my goodness!
Gorgeous interior, just like here. It's not same, but similar in the concept. But also there are some surprises that we're going to bring to Musaafer, New York. Some new things, it's going to be wonderful. We're super excited for having taken this step because it's a different avatar of Musaafer that you're going to see. There'll be some familiar things and some entirely new. So very, very exciting. It's coming along really well. It's close to completion now, and hopefully in the summer of this year is.
I was going to say, will we see it in 2025, or are you still building out?
No, summer of 2025.
That's
great.
Fantastic. Karen in Edinburgh, Scotland is saying, if you decide to go global, me too. Scotland is a great place. We love India. It's people and Indian food. What they do, they even have a Bollywood at the Edinburgh Festival.
Oh my God.
Please come to Scotland. Yes, absolutely.
Oh, that is so sweet, and I'm so touched by that. And it is a beautiful place. We visited many, many years ago and absolutely fell in love with it.
Yeah,
and I hope someday we can. It would really, really be a wonderful kind of thing to come to fruition if we do expand into that part of the world.
Yeah, we could have saris made out of plaid.
Yes, we could have kilts and saris all at the same time.
Oh, yes.
Karen said further at the chat at the beginning of the show, he'll give you his recipe for Indian haggis. Which is just crazy. Yeah, no, East Coast, there's no stopping you guys. You're dreamers, you're hard workers, you're wonderful people. You have an incredible chef, and Afzal in the beverage crew, and Sumant in the pastry program. You've really put the heart and soul and all the love and spices and the hard yards, the not just 10,000 hours, it's like 10 million hours you guys have put in. So the Michelin star is not only well deserved, but let's get one next year, and let's get 2 or 3. I think 2 or 3. Let's be the first 4-star Michelin restaurant in the world.
Yeah.
Okay.
What?
Let's strive for that, and God willing.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you won't know this because you're a guest and not a regular viewer, but the Limerick lady here, we always finish off with a silly little Irish format poem called a Limerick to honor our very special guests. So thank you once again for joining us today. You can find them at Musaafer Houston on Instagram and Facebook, and musaaferhouston.com. And also keep an eye out for Tales by Musaafer, the catering company, because you've done we didn't even touch on that, some incredible stuff in what did you do? Well, before we do the Limerick, what did you do in Cancun this year? Because my mouth was watering and my jaw was on the floor.
Yeah.
We had a couple of weddings that were catered, and it was they were, how Indian weddings are, 4 or 5 days of events.
Yes.
So we had from lunches and breakfasts to cocktails and then dinners, and then each meal and each event had a separate theme. And yes, they had a lot of fun working out, and we actually had we had a Japanese chef fly in, and there was an Indian inspired, or it was like a collab, Indian and Japanese together. It was an Indian sushi that we did.
Wow.
We did entirely, completely vegetarian menus for some events. We had gorgeous desserts. It was just, it was the kind of food, it was art on that's
a plate.
What we are anyway, art on a plate, but it was, people couldn't get over the kind of food that was being served at that wedding. We had so many people reach out to us after that, it was really, really, really unique.
That's fabulous. And if this will go obviously on YouTube after our Facebook exclusive, but if anybody is wanting to have, the world's most mind-blowing catering, just go to musaaferhouston.com. There's a catering button there, and these guys will definitely hook you up. So once again, thank you so much for spending so much time with us today, because I know what you've got going on doing media with you guys, which we're honored to do.
Yeah.
I just see one of your WhatsApp channels. I can't imagine what all the rest of them are like.
Yeah.
So I know you're running from pillar to post, and we thank you so much. And now back to the previously stated limerick. Da-da-da-da. Are you ready, madam?
Yes.
Shall we do it after a countdown?
Yes.
And a 1, 2, 3. At Musaafer, where spices convene, Mithu's team offer quite the cuisine. With a Michelin star, they've raised up the bar. Dreams came true for this traveling queen.
Oh,
Ta-da!
awesome. That was lovely. That was so nice and so fun and so creative. I've loved that.
I'll email it to you. There you go.
Thank you.
So once again, folks, if you are in the Houston area, and especially Westheimer and Sage Galleria, these guys are, don't be scared of oh my God, I got to know someone to get in. They're open Friday, Saturday, Sunday for lunch, and 7 nights a week for dinner. You can eat at the bar and have fabulous cocktails by Afzal, or you can just go in and have a glass of champagne and a dessert from the pastry program by Sumant. But I do encourage you to get the chef's tasting menu. But these guys will always make you very welcome, and there's one of them always around. And I think you and Shammi are the hardest working couple in show business.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Real kind
All right.
Thanks again.
I really enjoyed spending time with you. Thank you so much.
Good.
Thank you. We'll see you kids next week all of a sudden.
Absolutely.
Be well.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.